Second timed practice is just about to start, so we're going to toss it to the broadcast crew. Jason Wygant, Grant Langston, and Georgia Lindsay. Guys, take it away.
Here of these final practice sessions of the day. Big thanks to Jason and Jenna helping us out with the pre-show, which we'll have this week and next. And here is the story. Cooper Webb, who a lot of people did not even think Cooper Webb going after Jeremy Martin. Martin is your defending champ. The challenger, people expected, would be his teammate Cooper Webb. Webb with a wrist injury. Some folks weren't even sure if he'd be racing here today. Not only is he racing, but Cooper Webb looked darn strong in the first practice session. Was actually a little bit quicker than his teammate Jeremy Martin here, who you see on the number one. So what do you think, Grant Langston? Is it a Yamaha showdown this summer, or some other riders going to get up in that mix? Some of the green bikes were fast in the first practice, that's for sure.
I was going to say I wouldn't give the trophy away just yet. I mean, Jeremy Martin, obviously back-to-back titles. This kid has just shown us that I compare him a little bit to the Ricky Carmichael. Has a bit of a similar body style, a little bit of a same kind of riding technique, but he makes it work, and he is fast outdoors. He's going to be tough to beat, but Cooper Webb, if he's healthy, he's done it before. We've seen it. I mean, he's been great in Supercross, and not to mention he's had phenomenal outdoor speed.
Sure.
But he's just had some injuries hold him back. He does come in with a slight wrist injury. It was broken. It is healing. I spoke to him before first practice. I said to him, "How are you feeling?" And he said, "You know, it's good. It's good. It's not really as bad as I was thinking." So for a rider to say that, he's obviously feeling pretty comfortable and confident. So maybe the Cooper Webb wrist injury is not as big a story as we initially thought. Let's hope not.
Yeah.
But speaking about some of the other riders, I think Pro Circuit Kawasaki, you know, the Mitch Payton squad, they got a lot of fast guys and some youngsters. Cincerello, he's back. Apparently he's about 80%. And Cincerello at 80% could still possibly go out and win this race today. So.
Yeah, he and Savachi, and also their new teammate, Austin Faulkner, were right there in practice. They had 4 of the top 5 practice times coming out of that team, Pro Circuit. So they were strong in the first one. Here's Martin right now. We're just getting started, so the lap times won't tell you much at the moment. Right now it's Cooper Webb with the fastest time, ahead of Jordan Smith.
See the red background, just identifying that he is, well, I guess he's not the points leader, but he comes in the champ. There's Webb, a little fist bump. I think that was his teammate. Was that Plessinger he just went by? A nice little team camaraderie there.
How about that?
But these guys train together, you know, down at the Rockwell training facility with Gareth Swanepoel. These guys work day to day together. They're teammates. So they're also friends off the track. And I think at the end of the day, yes, if they're battling for position, there's no friends. But in a situation like this, good teammate camaraderie there.
And we'll welcome Georgia Lindsay onto the broadcast once again here with us in 2016. What do you have on the 17, Georgia?
Well, I'm lucky enough to be down here in the Fram Mechanics area where all the action is happening, you guys. Honestly, it's Hangtown. It's very exciting. Everybody's ready for this first race to see where they're at. But Cooper Webb, you guys were just talking about, and obviously he has that broken wrist. I caught up with him just before first practice when they went out. He said, you know, his wrist is stiff. It is a bit sore, but the break is healing, and that's the main thing. He can't really do any more damage. The Monday after his last Supercross race, which was 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas, they took a look at it. It hadn't got any worse. And he said, you know what, the adrenaline can kind of get over some of that pain. So I think he should be good. I think the second moto, though, is going to be tough for him after hammering down that 30-minute moto plus 2 laps.
Yeah, a good point, Georgia. I mean, it's okay to go do it once, but you come off the track, now you have to ice it, and you get ready for Moto 2, and you go out in your parade lap, and it's like, oh my goodness, you know, there's no movement, because there's probably going to be some swelling involved. So he's got a good crew behind him. I think he's working with Dr. G as well. So he's got a good crew behind him. These guys are at that point where dealing with injuries has become a science for these racers. And they know exactly kind of what they're going to go through today. You know, the procedures, you know, some cream, maybe it's going to be some icy hot after you ice it before you go out. You know, some stretching, maybe isolation. Look at this kid.
Well, you mentioned the injuries down to a science and a routine. Unfortunately, this poor guy has been through so much the last few years. Now we're in the 44. Adam Cincerello, who made it 5 rounds into our championship last year before going out with shoulder surgery, and missed the entire year before that with a shoulder injury, then missed all of Supercross this year with a broken wrist. So he is on the mend from a broken wrist. but was second fastest in the first practice earlier today behind his teammate Savachi. So get used to the 44. That's Cincerillo's number this year, number 50 last year. And get used to the fact that every time we see the guy, he's about 3 inches taller than the last time we saw him.
Yeah, he's gotten tall. He was towering me when I was talking to him. I thought, I remember you as a kid, and now you're leaning down over me. Yeah, he's definitely gone through a growth spurt. And it's not the end of the world, to be a tall rider. It's just, for these guys, you actually start having to adjust your technique and your style based on your height. Mm-hmm. Look at that, the half pipe. I think it's really cool. Teammates going in there. And
that's a new one. The 39 is Jordan Smith. That's his second full pro season and brand new to this circuit, number 403. These are the Geico Honda boys, Tristan Charbonneau. This is his pro debut today.
Nice to see that. Have to keep an eye out on him. He looked pretty good in first practice as well, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's top 10. A lot of these youngsters obviously have the speed. I think on a track like this, I have noticed that because it was a prediction of a lot of rain, the track hasn't been ripped quite as deep. If you look there, not quite as rough as usually would be at this time of the day. Yeah. It's going to get rough. Hangtown always gets, you see that chop down the hills. This is still early in second practice, and it's already getting rough. But I'll be curious to see how this track unfolds. I really do believe that today a start is going to be even more important than in the past, because I don't think there's as much to separate these guys.
And Georgia, what do you have down there? What are you seeing?
Yes, down in the Frown Mechanics area, all the mechanics get to look at all the lap times, and we also have a screen showing what you guys are seeing too, so the guys can kind of keep an eye on the track. However, I cannot believe these lap times. Between first and 15th place is just 2 seconds. This is incredibly close to those top 15 guys. 15th right now is Alex Martin with Cooper Webb leading in first place, and there's just 2 seconds between that. So going into the races, obviously they're just putting fast laps right now. They'll go in, do a couple of fast laps, come back in, make some changes on the bike, but during a moto, everything's going to change. And Brian, you know all about that.
Yeah, especially at the first race, you come in with a game plan. You think you know what you're going to do. And I even was chatting with Jeremy Martin after first practice. I said, how's the track? And he goes, we've done all this testing. We've set our bike up for what we thought it was going to be. Right. And it's not quite exactly what we thought it was going to be. So we're basically having to make some adjustments. So I think you're going to find a lot of guys are going to tell you that they've made several adjustments between the practices based on, like I said, what I think they predicted it was going to be like and what it's actually working out to be. But a lot of moisture in the dirt from a little bit of the rain yesterday, so it's soaked in. So as you see, no dust, really nice. You see that loam just come off the rear tire, so a lot of traction. And with that, you'll see the guys will start putting the power to the ground more aggressively, so it'll end up chopping up quite nicely for the motos.
I want to check the lap time, and it was solid. You're watching the 2:14. Austin Forkner, first pro race for him, third quickest right now, and I think you can tell it was going to be fast just by watching him. He is going all out right now on this 2:14, and much like Charbonneau, who we mentioned, the speed with these kids usually isn't the issue. The real question is going to be, can they replicate it with the pressure? Can they do it twice? Much longer race each moto than what they're used to as amateurs. And, of course, the competition is something like they've never really faced before. So we'll see if Forkner can take, obviously, some impressive skills on the motorcycle and turn it into a good result today in the actual race.
Well, it always comes with confidence over time. So for kids like this, the pace will give them some confidence.
Yep.
Hopefully a good start, and hopefully, with a lot of these guys, you don't want to see them go and kind of panic and get arm pump and kind of blow it for themselves. But I think this kid is, a lot of these youngsters coming up, they seem more prepared than, for example, when I became a pro, or guys from previous generations. These guys come in and they know what to expect. They've been groomed, they've ridden with pros, they've trained, they've tested. So it's not a huge culture shock for them. I think that it's just the mental side, because, like Austin Faulkner, he probably believes deep down that he has the speed to win eventually. But we don't know how it's going to unfold like today, because he might go, hey, I'm looking for a top 5 or a top 10.
Yeah.
But you get the whole shot, and all of a sudden it's like, woohoo, I got the lead, I got to go, I got to run.
Well, it's happened here at Hangtown quite a bit, and one other advantage that some of these rookies have, Forkner, this is his first pro race. He did not race Supercross this year, so most of the riders are coming off of Supercross. He has been doing nothing but racing motocross and riding motocross the last few months, and we have seen some of these rookies come out, and you know which ride comes to mind? Eli Tomac winning his first race ever. They come out sometimes, put their best race of the year in their very first race. We got a live GoPro on a couple of the riders out here today. It's going to be awesome to have in the motos. That was Mitch Oldenburg giving us a view. So we'll keep working that in throughout our coverage, practice, and the motos today in the 250s. I think we had to look at Zach Osborne there, who was actually at the top of the lap charts for a while. He's now 5th on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna.
It keeps changing, and look who's at the top now. The only person I've seen in the 157, and Jeremy Martin, 157.79. Second is Faulkner. That last lap was a good lap from him as well, a 58.1. Third, Christian Craig. No surprise there. Craig showed some great speed last year. He's in third with 158.8. Oh, and Osborne jumps back up to third spot, so he improves his time with a 158.1. So, man, a lot of these guys in the 158, 159 range. And with just over a minute and a half to go, you're going to see these times just coming in right at the end. You'll see these guys banging in right at the end of practice.
Osborne was 4th in the points last year, was very consistent, but is still looking for his first ever win. We go to the 23 of Aaron Plessinger now. He has a victory, won the last race of the year last season, and trying to carry that forward into 2016. Georgia, what are you hearing on Aaron?
Yes, Aaron Plessinger, he just came into the mechanics area, and there's one thing that these guys are changing, and a lot of them are. I've seen quite a few of them come in. Jeremy Martin also just came in, but they're changing the clickers on the front suspension and then also the rear shock. Now, Grant, you could probably go into more detail because that is definitely a term that is used in motocross, is just go up or down a few clicks.
Yeah, and that's coming back to that point I was saying earlier. Good observation, Georgia. And I think what it is with these guys, they're coming in going, basically you could probably soften up your suspension to get a little more feeling from the front end and the rear, because the chop is small, so there's no big G outs or hard landings or harsh braking bumps. So more than likely it's softening up the clickers a little bit, just allowing it to go through the stroke a little easier, because that's something they can do on the fly with a screwdriver. And then possibly they'll end up going back a couple clicks after the first moto in preparation for the second moto. Also rebound sometimes. If with the little chop, if the bike's kind of dancing around, they can slow the rebound. That means how the suspension comes back. You want that rear wheel on the ground, but also coming into the turns, you want the front wheel of the track as well.
Yeah, the riders were surprised, everyone I talked to after that first practice, how fast they were going, because the track is just flatter or not as bumpy. And again, the reason they do that is because if you make the dirt soft and it rains, all that rain soaks in. If you push the dirt hard, pack it down, the rain kind of runs off. We got some rain last night. We haven't had any rain so far, but you can see it's not really a sunny day, so the rain can come at any time, and they're trying to prepare for that and not let the track get ruined if it rains. You're watching Colt Nichols on the number 69. And here's the surprise thing of Nichols, who had a great Supercross season, was top 5 in nearly every race in 250 Supercross West. Believe it or not, this is Colt Nichols' first ever national. He missed them all last year with a torn ACL, and the year before that he was a full-time arena cross racer, so it's his 3rd pro season, but his first ever pro motocross race. He's done a lot of arena cross and supercross, but a lot of buzz about how fast this guy is.
Yeah, it'd be great to see. Like you said, Jason, haven't really had a chance to see his all-out raw speed outdoors, but I had a chance to commentate when he was doing arena cross, and straight away you could tell he was a great talent. And in Supercross, like you said, very consistent and had a great season.
Georgia knows the man on the number 69 here, Colt Nichols, pretty well. I know you see him down in your neck of the woods in Oklahoma, here and there.
Yes, he is part of our Oklahoma crew. There is a big crew of us. Colt Nichols is just one of them. We also have Chase Marquier, who's also out on a 250, Benny Bloss, Justin Bogle, Trey Canard. We have a crew out there. He trains with Robbie Rayner, and honestly, he has unbelievably improved these last few years. I mean, as an amateur, he was very, very fast, but he has just come into this professional, the arena being a professional, and he hasn't taken it at all in a crazy manner. He has taken it in his stride. He has improved. He's been out in California for the last few weeks since Supercross. However, after the 3rd round, he will be coming back to Oklahoma, and everyone actually seems to be coming back. But he's definitely one to watch, I think. He's going to be one of those wild cards that people don't expect.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was realizing it was his first race actually professionally outdoors, so we'll see. That is absolutely a wild card. You don't know what to expect from him and a lot of the folks out there. So we'll just give you the results real quick. Jeremy Martin, Austin Faulkner, and Zach Osborne are your top 3 in this practice. We'll have a 450 practice coming up in just a moment. We will send it back to Jenna and JT, who, it's not even that cold here, is wearing gloves today. Maybe just showing the sponsor product. I'm not sure. JT, what's up?
Thanks. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it is a little chilly out here. I have some goosebumps. JT, on the other hand, is
I came prepared.
all bundled up. Anyway, Jeremy Martin, no surprise there, but Austin Forkner, the rookie.
Yeah, it's kind of the young and the old, right? So it's a bit of clash of the generations. I think we're going to see all that play out today. 35 minutes is a long time to be out there, times 2. So we're going to get to watch all these storylines unfold.
So for Forkner, you think it's going to come down to the conditioning?
I do. I think he'll start really, really fast. He's used to the amateur racing, which is short and sweet, and I think he's going to come out and try to sprint away. A guy like Jeremy Martin knows he has a long time to get to the front, so he's not going to panic no matter what the situation is.
Sure. All right. Who else do you see coming up to the front there?
I've been really, really surprised by Adam Cincerillo. We haven't seen him in a year, basically, when it really comes down to it. So I'm excited to see how he does. He's been fast all morning. He's really coming out with a point to prove, and that's just Adam. He knows he's supposed to be up front. He wants to show everybody that he's back and he's ready to win.
All right, and then next up, it's going to be the 450 class, and Dungey has yet won at Hangtown. Do you think today is the day for him?
I know he wants to. I know he doesn't like to come here and struggle. So we saw him in the first time session. He came out and got 10th place. That can't be sitting well. I know there was probably some harsh looks around the pits after that performance. So he's going to come out here and try to set the record straight, I'm sure, in this session.
How do you think Marvin Muscan looked the first time around?
I thought he looked great. I think Marvin's a very technical rider. This is kind of a fast, open track, so I don't think it really suits his style perfectly. But he's going to want to try to get a good start, stay out of trouble, and get some good points here today.
Anything else stand out to you about the 450 class?
You know what? The question marks are still there for Barsha. His first session wasn't good. He was somewhere around 13th or so I know that can't be sitting well. He was really hoping to jump out into that top 5, I think, right away. But really the storyline is Eli Tomac again right to the top.
Yeah, talk about Eli Tomac.
He won his first race ever at this event. So I know it sits well with him. Last year was just absolute domination. So for him to come out, set the fastest time again, everybody's kind of got to be rolling their eyes in the pits that have to face him and like, man, what do we have to do to beat Eli Tomac at Hangtown? The real answer to that is, I don't know either.
Right. New team, new bike, new shoulders, like we had talked about yesterday. But do you think it's going to come down to the big 3 again?
I do. The real variable there is the weather. If it stays dry, if we have good weather all day, those are your top 3, I think, at the end of this day after 70 minutes of racing. If it does rain in the second moto, wipe all that clean. I think you'll still see those guys at the front, but it gives a guy like Barsha, a guy like Weston Pike, the tough guys that really excel in tough conditions, it really gives those guys a chance to jump up onto the podium.
And you were saying to me earlier today that this track can't really hold much water.
No, it's got a really hard base. So if it does rain hard and comes all at once, it's going to roll downhill, and you're going to see rivers literally running across the track. So there are tracks that handle water better than others. This doesn't happen to be one of those.
Did you bring your swimmies?
I did. I was.
You brought everything else.
If it wasn't so cold, it's normally a hot summer day here. I might go out there and take a dip, but not today.
All right. Well, the crowds are coming in. It's not too crazy right now. Is this normal?
It's pretty mellow in early mornings here at the outdoor championship. So I think as we get closer and closer to race time, the pits are wide open. Guys are back there watching the behind-the-scenes stuff as these guys come in for practice. So I think as we get closer and closer, as our starting gate show rolls off, you're going to see the pits fill up, and it's going to be go time.
How are these guys feeling right now? Round 1, are they anxious, excited?
It's a mixture of both. The first thing they woke up this morning, there's knots in your stomach about how am I going to do today, because there's unanswered questions for these guys just like we have. They don't know how their bodies are going to perform. All the testing, all the work, it all has to show up basically over the course of really an hour today. So I'm sure they're nervous. They have a lot of expectation and a lot put on them by their teams to perform today, and they probably don't have answers just like we do.
Any new news on James Stewart's condition?
He was 8th in that first session, so that's encouraging. James is one of those guys that's always the fastest guy on the track like his whole life. So for him to come out in 8th, I'm sure he's not overwhelmingly pleased with that, but I'm sure there's a little bit of relief like, hey, okay, I wasn't 20th. 8th is something we can work with. And really, him coming off of injury, he's going to be trying to build towards a really strong finish. So I look for him to try to get a good start and stay out of trouble and try to hover around that top 10 today.
Do you think he lasts the entire series?
That's the big thing. He hasn't been able to put series together. Supercross didn't pan out for him either. So as I was saying with that building, just don't panic if the results aren't coming right away. Just try to kind of put those pieces together, and 6 weeks from now worry about winning. Don't freak out if things aren't coming together right away.
Here's something I didn't ask you. Bold predictions.
Oh, man, the bold predictions today are coming fast and furious as we watch practice unfold. I like, for the 250 guys, I think Cincerillo, I would put him to have a great day today. I like him.
Is that bold, though?
I think it is, because he hasn't raced in a whole year, and people, underestimate what that time away does. Eli Tomac in Supercross really struggled because he had 5 months away from the sport. So for Cincerillo, from his first lap of untimed practice today, he came out with a point to prove.
But if he's healthy, so that's not bold.
Yeah, well,
how about bold?
Bold, man. I think Jeremy Martin is not going to win today. I think after watching practice, I do.
I'm so happy
that's
I asked.
pretty bold. Yeah, it's pretty bold. But I just think one of the underdog guys is going to come out and just go crazy with all the adrenaline and things that the first round brings on. I think Jeremy Martin will be there all season long. But I just look for Jeremy Martin to have that maybe second or third place day, get the valuable points, and realize that you can't win the championship today. It's not all about today. We have 12 of these rounds to get through.
All right, of the best, who's going to be the worst?
Man, I came into this thing thinking that Cooper Webb and James Stewart were going to have rough days. And as I've watched both of them, I now think Cooper Webb's going to have a good day. He looks much better than we saw 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas. So whatever kind of magic healing or whatever kind of Mr. Miyagi things they've been doing behind the scenes to heal him up, he looks like
wax on, wax off.
Exactly, yeah. He looks like a different guy. So I would move him much further to the front than I would have had him earlier this week.
All right, anything else on your mind?
No, I want to see how Stewart and Dungey both responded this second session. 8 and 10 is, maybe for Stu, but 10th is not anywhere near where Dungey wants to be, so he needs to improve upon that this time out.
What about Jason Anderson? You've talked him up the past couple days.
Yeah, and he was third in that session, which is good for him. I think that builds his confidence. He was strong here last year. He grew up in New Mexico, so this dirt is very similar to that dry, rocky kind of desert type surface. So I think he feels comfortable here. The starts are going to dictate his day. If he starts 15th, I think it's going to be tough for him to get into that top 5. But if he can start top 3, I think he stays there.
And talk about what these guys have been doing from between the Supercross season to now.
It's been a whirlwind of testing and preparation in that time. Everyone thinks, oh, Vegas, they have that weekend off, and there's that weekend off. It's not a weekend off. Those guys were busting their butts all week, just training in the heat and on their bicycles and putting in motos. Maybe they got, Saturday off last weekend or whatever, but it's crunch time for preparation because they know how hard this Saturday is going to be, so there's no time to waste.
And speaking of bicycles, the Amgen Tour of California was in town just yesterday, and Alden Baker, a huge cycling fan, mountain biker background. Do you think he had his guys log in some extra miles this week?
Yeah, Alden's got a pretty strict program, but I can guarantee you that there were lots of guys. I was in the BTO KTM truck yesterday, and they were tuned in, just locked into watching the time trial yesterday.
I was with you.
Right. So there's a lot of crossover fan, and everyone that is at this level of motocross probably rides a bicycle to cross train. So mutual respect there, definitely.
Yeah, there is a lot of crossover of interest. They talk to each other on Twitter. They take. Cavendish and Dungey were just together at Bradley Wiggins. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's just a ton of respect there because it's different disciplines, right? But everyone works, and this is their whole life from when they were a little kid to get to this level. So, we can't go out and go do the things they do on their bicycles, and Mark Cavendish can't do what we do out on the motocross track. So I think everybody respects what we're out there doing.
Maybe he can't, but he definitely try.
Right.
I have to say one thing about Mark Cavendish. He certainly has the confidence, but as does everyone else on the track right here, right?
Yeah, it's, confidence is a funny thing, though, because, for Tomac, he dominated here last year. And you could see that in his riding. He came out, set the fastest time. He's probably sitting back over there on they're getting ready to go out, but he's probably sitting on his bike over there thinking, I've got this thing today. If I don't screw up, it's mine for the taking. Where Dungey, he's won 3 championships in a row, back-to-back coming into this thing, but I guarantee you his confidence is probably not shaken, but he's probably a little upset with that 10th place showing in the first one because he knows he doesn't want guys like Eli Tomac and Roxon to get that confidence.
Talk about the whole shot. Who do you think is going to get it for each class?
Dungey starts have been lights out. So to pick anyone else for a whole shot would be tough. Barsha last year, it seemed like every single time he was in the mix for it, but I haven't seen that this year. So until he can come back and prove that he's got that starting technique and really starts are about confidence. So I'll stick with Dungey in that class. On the 250 class, I really feel like that the Pro Circuit Kawasaki guys are great starters. Adam Cincerillo is my pick for the whole shot in the 250 class. I just think he has that figured out, and he feels like he belongs at the front.
If you're Justin Barcia, you have to be sick of everyone talking about how inconsistent you are.
Yeah, and it's been a rough go for him. You know, I know for him, he felt like he had it all figured out. Going into the offseason, it's like, we've got all our problems. We push him to the side. It's time to win now. And then he had a rough Supercross season again. So the questions are all that he answered last year are all there again. I'm sure he just wants to shut everybody up at this point.
Speaking of shutting up, when are we shutting up? No.
Well, we can hear the 450s out there now, so it's go time for these guys. And you can see the action is right behind us here, so hopefully I don't get hit by a rock. If I do get hit by a rock and knock out, it's on you.
I don't want you to hit by a rock. It would be kind of cool to see some flying objects.
Yeah, it's we're really close to the action here. You know, that's the great thing about this sport, I think, compared to everyone else, is that we're so close. You know, you go to a football game, go to any stick and ball sport, you can't get this close to the action.
Especially not these days. Tickets are so expensive,
right.
Especially at Yankee Stadium.
Well, I think the athletes, too, are so approachable here, too. I mean, the guys are all in the pits. There's fans walking around everywhere, and they're literally standing right next to Ryan Dungey when he comes in for practice. So that's a cool aspect of the sport. See Jason Anderson going by, leading the pack around. The difference in this qualifying session, this practice versus the first one had 5 minutes of free practice. This one, they're just going straight into it. So there's no waiting around. They don't have to kind of get those few laps in to sort the track out. If they want to get their good time in now's the time.
All right, we're going to go back to the broadcast crew. Jason Wagon, it's all you now.
All right, back here in the booth. Thanks, folks. Watching James Stewart making his return to racing today in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. Missed all of last year due to a suspension. Here's your television schedule today. First Motos live every week on MAV TV, and that includes this weekend right here at Hangtown. So that's 4 o'clock Eastern time. Since we're out in California, 1 o'clock local time. Second Motos will be on NBCSN at 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll send it to Georgia, who has a special guest.
You may or may not have heard of this guy. You may recognize him. It might just be Ryan Villopoto. Ryan, it is awesome to have you here. Hangtown, first race, and you just came down to be a spectator.
Pretty much, yeah. Came down, flew in this morning and fly back out tonight. It's an hour 20 flight, so it's really close. And, you know, it's good to be back here at Hangtown. You know, smell the race fuel again. So, yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun hanging out.
So you've just been at home, you've been chilling, relaxing, and just enjoying life. How's life been for Ryan?
Yeah, life's been really good. You know, it's going to change here real shortly. It'll be like a tornado came through our house here soon. You know, with 2 boys on the way. So, you know, we'll see. It's going to get interesting and a lot of fun. Right now we're enjoying our time the way it is until it changes.
Twins. Huge congratulations, Ryan, on that. But 450 season, it's the first race. What are your thoughts? Obviously, we've just come off the Supercross season, but we're going into the Pro Motocross. What's your thoughts on everybody?
Well, it's like round one in any series. We'll kind of get to see where guys are at right now and who's going to take that first, you know, leap of, you know, make their statement, you know, for the year. And, you know, Hangtown's a good track to do that on. It's a very tough track. It's a demanding track to ride good and ride fast, both motos. So, you know, whoever can, you know, show what they got here, you know, a lot of times is going to be a guy to reckon with the rest of the season. All
right, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's going to take the overall win today in the 450 class?
Well, this is my first time that I've got to see anybody out on the track. But
surely it's putting on the spot.
It's for today. I can't answer that yet. Ask me that after this practice.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you so much for coming down. It's great to see you, Ryan Villopoto, everybody.
At least you wanted to give a real answer. Didn't want to commit without the proper data. Here's a guy you could put pretty good odds on potentially taking the win today. That's your defending champion, Ryan Dungey, on the Red Bull KTM. Dungey only, I believe, 10th in the first practice session, though. Fastest was Eli Tomac, who won this race last year and didn't just win it, won it in one of the all-time dominant performances. Won the second moto by 1 minute and 31 seconds. And Tomac was fastest in the first practice, so trying to pick up where he left off in 2015. we'll see if Dungey can get a little bit further up than 10th here in this second practice session.
Well, this track has typically not been a great place for Ryan Dungey, and it has been a good place for Eli Tomac.
Yep.
So I think that's also why Villopoto maybe hesitated giving you an answer, because he might think, hey, I think Tomac's going to win today, but I still got my money on Dungey in the championship. But it's going to be interesting, because it's nice to see three guys at the top of their game. And not to mention, Jason Anderson is still, in my opinion, the wild card. I think he's going to be on the podium a lot this year, and I think he's going to be in potential to win some races. So we'll see. I mean, he's shown that he's on the same program as Dungey. They got the same trainer. They train together. You know, someone like Marvin Musquin can also be another wild card.
Sure.
It's a lot of talent, a lot of depth. Hopefully it stays that way. Unfortunately, we tend to lose riders during the season to injuries. But it's nice that we're not just talking about one or two guys that could win. I believe there's three legitimate and then another handful of guys that can win.
And they're all shooting for this guy, Ryan Dungey, who has now defended successfully as a championship from Supercross. Here he is back at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey about a month ago. Successfully defending the title that he won in 2015 with the championship here in 2016. And now trying to do the exact same thing, carry that #1 plate from last year. He gets a hug from his wife, Lindsay, trying to take the #1 plate he earned outdoors last year and do it again. And as you mentioned, other riders coming in. Yeah, Dungey had a huge points lead early in Supercross this year. He was just so strong out of the blocks. And then normally the other riders just switch into, well, maybe we'll just wait until motocross mode. But no, guys like Eli Tomac here you see on the #3, and also Ken Roczen actually got better as the Supercross season went on. They were out of it as far as the points championship was concerned. Dungey was long gone, but they started getting faster, getting more podiums and wins in the case of Roczen late in the year. So these guys are going to come at Dungey with everything they have. And as you've said several times, they can beat Dungey maybe any given week. It's that 24 moto grind that Dungey has always been so strong with, the consistency throughout the year.
I think, too, for Tomac, between getting both shoulders operated on and switching teams, at the beginning of the season, he didn't quite look himself. He looked a little uncomfortable. So can't point that all the bike or just to the shoulders. But he definitely looked stronger, more in control, and his body posture has improved. And Tomac is an outdoor specialist. You know, Supercross has not really been his forte. So it's going to be interesting. Like you said, towards the tail end of Supercross, you know, Tomac and Roczen kind of seem to have the measure of Dungey. But you know, on the flip side, I think Dungey had already gone into outdoor mode where he was testing and riding motocross, knew the title was in check. Georgia, how's the weather out there?
Okay, this is the first time I have been to Hangtown Pro Motocross. I'm wearing a long sleeve sweater and I am cold. It is unbelievable. The weather changed on Thursday. I think it was 91 degrees. It's probably around 50s or 60s right now. 55 degrees, actually, I've just been told it is right now. It's chilly. Now, coming into the race season, one of the huge things is dehydration and the riders getting so hot during these motos. Normally, Hangtown, it's dusty and it does get very, very hot. They're dealing with very different race conditions to what they normally are. So you're going to see people that normally struggle with the heat that aren't going to be struggling today.
Yeah, not nearly as big an adjustment as it normally is going from Supercross when you're racing at night and it's generally cooler temperatures to the heat of the summer in the middle of the day on rough tracks. Well, today the track isn't quite as rough as it normally is because, again, the expectations of the rain, they do what they call sealing it in. They don't rip it and soften it up as much. And then, yeah, 55 degrees. It's nearly June in California. What is going on here?
So what you're saying is even the guys that don't train very hard have a chance today.
maybe. Yeah, maybe we've leveled the playing field. Hey, there's Marvin Musquin making his debut in motocross here on a 450. Was so close. Coulda, shoulda, woulda potentially won the 250 championship last year. We certainly don't want to take any credit away from Jeremy Martin, but those guys were going down to the wire in a showdown for the championship, and then Musquin's bike quit 1 lap into the final race of the year, so we'll never know how that could have potentially turned out. Bottom line is, though, Musquin's abilities outdoor certainly not in question. Just a matter of how quickly he can adjust to the 450. He had a great run midway through the Supercross season with a lot of podiums, so let's see if he can put those kind of performances together here.
Well, we see him come up a little short on that fly 150. I think he went fly 145 and bounced to the bottom. 450 is giving it everything they got to get over it. Jason Anderson, that's kind of interesting with his
purple.
Yeah, little Barney the Dinosaur tribute.
Well, if we get the rain, we think we'll have purple rain here. By the way, in press day on Thursday, which is ostensibly really a test day for the teams. Whoa, Anderson gets over that one. Everyone pretty much rode this track on Thursday for press purposes, but if you don't think they had stopwatches out and we're trying to figure out how to go fast, you're just kidding yourself. Anderson, we hear, was far and away the fastest rider, and to my eye, I wasn't surprised. He uncorked that 150-foot jump almost immediately. He looked fast and aggressive all day on Thursday. Like you said, this guy's a real wild card. Hasn't ever won an outdoor national in his career. He's won a moto once, but this could be the year that he breaks that string and gets to the #1 spot.
They got Brock Tickle behind him there, teammates of Ken Roxon. Another guy who's solid. Tickle, someone that I think would be kind of between that 5th and 10th place range. But Brock has been consistent. Unfortunately, he's also dealt with a few injuries, but a pretty consistent outdoor guy. Never, sets the world on fire, but he's always just right there. Reminds me a bit of a Brett Metcalf,
Yeah.
Kind of the guy that just didn't quite get on the podium that you almost forget about sometimes, but then you look at the points, you're like, man, he's right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. There goes Dungey by. They just saw, they just passed the #4 of Blake Baggett on the Yoshimura Suzuki, another potential contender this year. Dungey looks to be on the gas right now.
And you know what's crazy, Jason? Look how smooth he looks going that speed. I mean, his bike and his body move around less than anyone else. Because even Ryan said one day, he goes, people tell me you could push harder, you could push harder. And he goes, man, I feel like I'm pushing him on the limit. But I said, yeah, but when we watch you,
it doesn't look that way, yeah.
Yeah, you look like you could do this all day long.
Trey Kennard right now here on the Honda HRC machine, number 41, is your fastest rider. Was second quickest in the first session, and fastest right now. It would not be fastest overall. Tomac had a 1:57 lap in the first session. Kennard's topping time right now is a 1:58. But throw Kennard in the mix. Was not here at Hangtown as a racer last year. Had a broken arm in Supercross a year ago. So really never got to see what he had outdoors in 2015. Could be different this season.
Trey Kennard, obviously a very talented rider, rides with a lot of heart and passion. And anytime, same thing. If Trey gets a decent start and he's healthy, you can never count him out. There's a reason that he's been a factory Honda rider for a while. They believe in him. Great character, great guy on and off the track. But the injuries, I feel like we're beating a dead horse, repeating ourselves. There's Tomac at the pits, chatting with the team. Doesn't look like much panic. Who knows? Maybe they're doing a couple clicker adjustments as we've been seeing happening throughout the day.
Tell people what the clickers are. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. We know exactly what they're doing with Tomac. We have Georgia on the spot. What's happening?
Well, I wouldn't say exactly, but taking a look at what they're doing, it looked like they were adjusting in the rear shock, which we talked about earlier in the 250 last practice, was the fact that, the weight and the way they're changing, the track's changing and they're getting used to the bikes, being the first race. I think it was just adjusting the rear shock right there. I think that was all they were doing, but he seemed happy. But we've had most riders come in here. Justin Vogle's currently in the pits right now. James Stewart, Ken Roxon, they both came in and actually didn't make changes on their bike, which I thought was kind of strange. I thought they would be out there putting in the more laps, but yeah, mechanics area down here is pretty busy.
Thanks, Georgia. We were mentioning wild cards before. There is no wilder wild card than this man right here, James Stewart, who has gone as fast as anyone has ever gone on a motocross tracks. Had a perfect season back in 2008, went 1-1 at this track back in 2012. But we just haven't seen what Stewart has to offer in a long time. Was out of racing all year last year due to a suspension, and then basically never got on track in Supercross. The very first lap of the season got run into by Ryan Dungey, had a concussion, and was just struggling to recover from there. So another chance to hit the reset button for Stewart. He is 6th quickest, which is pretty good. You just never know. I mean, lately, obviously, the last 2 years have been tough for James Stewart. We haven't seen what you normally expect from him, but it's still James Stewart. Potential is always there. Here's some of the issues that he had. Again, this is the very beginning of the season. Anaheim won the first Supercross of the year, and he is knocked out. And, gives the fans a thumbs up, and you can tell he's pretty groggy. He comes back about a month and a half later at Daytona, and then watch his crash in the whoops. This is not something you'd ever expect from a rider his caliber.
That looked painful right there on the tailbone. I've had one of those before. Not comfortable at all, especially because it jars your back so hard. And even though you see him struggling in pain, you might not have broken anything, but that is a very painful crash right there. James definitely not having the Supercross season he would have wanted. But like you said, Jason, this guy has gone faster than anybody on a motorcycle at some point in his career. And you just never know. He has that natural ability. I just question if the confidence and the fitness is there right now.
Yeah, exactly. We just don't know if
race fitness more than anything, because he hasn't raced much.
Yeah, we just haven't
race
seen
fitness
him.
is different to practice.
We have no idea what he's capable of because we don't have any data basically over the last year and a half of him on the racetrack. But I can tell you, the lap times are good. Now pushed back to 7th quickest. He looks certainly strong right now. Goes around Dungey, who's cruising. Dungey
went to the top of the times on that last lap, 157.6. So he's dipped into the 57s. Canard sitting second with a 158.3. Anderson 158.4. Tomac fourth with a 158.5. So really close there between Canard, Anderson, and Tomac. And then a little bit of a gap down to the 59s. You've got Tickle, Grant, Stewart pushed back to 7th, like you said. Seeley 8th. Roxon, expecting him to pick it up a little bit. He's sitting there 9th on a 159. So just about 2 seconds off Dungey's pace. And then rounding out the top 10, Weston Pike.
It's unbelievable. You go through this list and you see how many strong riders there are. We're back to about 17 riders on factory bikes. Phil Nicoletti, 17th quickest before you get to a privateer. Noah McConaughey is 18th quickest. Justin Brayton, 21st quickest. So you're Justin Bogle, 22nd, Andrew Short, 23. So you put them in the mix. That's